good morning, everyone. Good morning to the entire world, and welcome to Sydney, New South Wales, Sydney Motorsport Park. Let me tell you, this track is going to be absolutely ready.
Well, after 12 long months of waiting, we're back at Sydney Motorsport Park for the 2016 Yokohama World Time Attack Challenge, and a big welcome to wherever you're watching from around Australia or indeed around the world. Chad and Alon joined once again by Toshi Hayama, fresh off the plane from Los Angeles. And Tosh, you're going to be doing our interviews in both Japanese and English here this weekend. Yes. Looking forward to a massive weekend. We've got so much planned.
Yeah, it's really good to be back here. We have an unbelievable weekend set up. One of the major headliners is the appearance of Tsuchiya Keiichi, the Drift King, one of the legendary drivers from Japan. And as you can see in this pit area right now, we got the top pro cars. With the retirement of the Tilton Evo, we have quite a surprise in this class, right?
There's going to be essentially a weekend now where we find the new heir to the throne, because the Tilton Evo, after a hat-trick of wins, is not here. But there's so much more than just the pro cars. We've got the beautiful PAGANI HUAYRA BC here. And how about the Nissan Le Mans car as well? That is an absolute beast.
The R88C, right? It's a rarity to be able to see that in action, so we're looking forward to that. Also, we have the International Drift Challenge that's going on at the same time. Superstar drifters, Chris Forsberg, Daigo Saito, Mad Mike, all coming in for this nighttime action event.
Unbelievable. Going to be absolutely huge. That's not even until tomorrow night, but we'll see some practice. But time now to get some cars out onto the racetrack. We've got so many sessions to build towards tomorrow's big SUPERLAP, and it's a big warm welcome to Renato Liberto, a man who knows this event intimately and has sat in plenty of hot sports cars.
Thanks, Chad. Huge event this year, over 160 competitors, nearly 50 in the club sprint class, and these guys on track now. These cars are effectively street registered or close to standard road cars, but unlimited engine modifications. Probably the biggest thing is no professional drivers. So these are guys that build these cars themselves. Some of them drive them to the track themselves or trailer them there, but really, really competitive series.
Very much the heart and soul of Time Attack Racing. Very famous looking Nissan Skyline at the front there. It's not the original, but a very good mock-up indeed, and one of the fastest cars here this weekend. But the fastest, looking to go back-to-back in the V-Sport Club Sprint class in season 2016. Dan Meredith is fast once again, and back into the 1 minute 39s nice and early.
That is a seriously quick time around the Sydney Motorsport Park GP circuit. To do in any car, but to do it in a front-wheel drive is incredible.
Wild moment this one for the CXC Mitsubishi Lancer, and thankfully not making contact with the wall on the outside of turn 4. Definitely a bit of an international flavour here this weekend, as you'd expect, being the World Time Attack, and it's prevalent throughout. Lots of Japanese cars running in club sprint.
We've actually got a driver here, Maeda-san, who flew his car, his little Suzuki Swift, out from Japan. He'd been to this event before working with Option Magazine, but flew it here, ran the car himself, and it's great to see international drivers coming for club sprint.
Yeah, in his little Suzuki Swift. Unfortunately, he couldn't quite make the top 5, because it's the top 5 that go through to the SUPERLAP shootout at the end of the weekend. Ben Arnold's had to withdraw that Skyline, so this will put Burton into the mix. Open class thanks to Link Engine Management, and that Skyline of Matt Longhurst, the South Aussie, definitely one of the fastest cars to watch out for. And the defending champ, JDM Yard's Adam Kazmiri, not making the top 5.
Yeah, that's a real surprise. Adam's a great steerer. It's a great little car, but it shows what open class has become. It's a very competitive category. A lot of aero modifications are allowed on these cars, and obviously pro class drivers, as you saw there, Tarzan Yamada. So it really does throw a mix into the equation for each year.
Absolute megastar. His first weekend in this car couldn't quite make it into the 5. The former 2-time champion of the pro class at World Time Attack, winning the first event here back in 2010. So has the runs on the board, and I get the feeling he and that Lightning McQueen car will gel further in the future.
Yeah, great looking car, that Lightning McQueen car, and Dennis Resi obviously puts together a great car, but I think maybe just some more wheel time in this car for Tarzan before the event would probably help extract the full pace out of that car.
The Ashwin Lancer, fast and inside the top 5. Keep an eye for him when we get through to the SUPERLAP shootout. But this guy is an absolute contender, has been sitting second all weekend long in the open class and getting faster and faster. Could go sub 1 minute 30 this weekend. Nathan Morecambe, the Australian GT driver and also reigning 6-hour champion of Bathurst, looking very nice in this car.
And that Evo there, Nick Callis' Evo, has some good heritage. It's won a couple of times in the event in the past, so it'll be a very quick combination.
Aidan Miller backing it into the fence. Local driver from Penrith going hard into the wall. Had to take a quick trip to hospital after that, but is okay. Unfortunately, that car looking very damaged indeed. The 3-rotor team from New Zealand. What an amazing combination this thing is. Absolutely screams, and Andy Duffin has got himself into the top 5, and a lot of fans are very happy about that.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite cars here, Chad. Like, it's a really, really neat build, some really great efficient aerodynamics in the car, and that engine's amazing.
He just snuck in, but it's Matt Longhurst, the quickest and the only driver sub 90 seconds going into the SUPERLAP shootout. Turbos by Garrett bringing us Pro-Am. You can pretty much do whatever you want to these cars, but you're not allowed to be a pro driver like the man standing next to me in the commentary box.
That's right, Chad. These pro-class cars are effectively huge aero, big front wings, big rear wings, big under trays on the cars. You just can't be a pro-class driver. So a lot of owner drivers in here are really fine-tuning these cars themselves and growing themselves as drivers as part of the event.
Just like Troy Patterson and Tyler Meeklin in the Pro Speed Racing WRX, that car with an H-pattern gearbox. These boys have been busy. The Mighty Mouse needing to change a drive shaft here this weekend and also having some cooling issues. No cooling issues with Brad Trenwick's amazing RX-7. Look at the way this thing breathes fire, doing the most laps out of anyone here this weekend in any class.
Yeah, amazingly reliable car. And I spoke about aerodynamics before. A lot of the cars are running side exhaust on the cars to make sure that flat floor is totally flat and as aerodynamic as possible. So every small thing that you would think about in Formula One or we had supercars or GT racing is done to these time attack cars nowadays.
Chris Alexander hauling the mail down the front straight here at Sydney Motorsport Park, comfortably inside the top 3. But this is the big news, going for an unprecedented 4th title in Pro-Am. Mick Sigsworth with a fire in the left rear of this car. Let's find out exactly what's going on with our reporter in the pits.
Yeah, we're down here with the PMQ Evo of Michael Sigsworth, who's had a bit of a fire down here. It was pretty hectic for a moment. I don't like fire, I've been there and done that. I've had a quick chat to Michael. We don't actually know what the source of the fire was. They're going to try and get to the bottom of it, but these guys were incredible on the scene to put the fire out. I just hope it hasn't done some permanent damage to the back end of this car. Thankfully, the fuel tank is actually in the passenger seat, fair way forward up here, so that's not of concern. There's obviously an issue in the back of the car.
Great to have Carl Ryler down in the pits, so Sigsworth is on top, but not quite down to the 1 minute 25s that we're used to seeing from him. Nguyen, that's an improvement from him on last year. Alexander still hasn't quite got the most out of that car so far. As we step it up now to Royal Purple Pro Class.
Yes, Chad, great selection of cars in Pro Class. Nissan Silvia's, Porsche 968, Mitsubishi Evo and Brad Shields, their Australian GT ace in the world's fastest Holden Astra. We see the team there from Scorch Racing Japan. Just a couple of boost issues on under Suzuki's car, but they should be out back on track very, very soon.
He is a cult hero in Sydney, and so many fans come to see him race. Our local Sydney operation, Pulse Racing, back again in the Pro Class with Paul McKinnon. This car getting faster and faster, but you had a feeling that we're building to something good here this weekend. And boy, did the times come tumbling. 1 minute 23.77 was last year's record to beat. Buttonmore got in there nice and early in the 968 Porsche.
Yeah, this thing is an absolute weapon. Obviously, David Wall drove this car last year, another well-known Australian name in V8 supercar and GT racing. And Bart's taken the wheel this year and sort of helping improve and develop the car even further.
He's turning low 1 minute 24s. Nob Taniguchi, another big name from Japan in this amazing Sutton Brothers Sylvia. They were looking to run under the 1 minute 30 bracket here this weekend. The 2 orange boxes mean he's on a personal best lap for the weekend, and lots of fast cars coming down the road behind him as he lit up that 128.6, but a huge lap on the board. Bang! That one from under Suzuki is a 1 minute 23.1, the fastest lap ever around this circuit in World Time Attack trim. But this man, Tim Slade, in the MCA Hammerhead was just about to knock it clean out of the park. No one has ever seen a lap time that fast, a 122.1. over a second and a half under the world record, and the MCA Hammerhead is here to play this weekend. Let's go on board and watch this perfect lap from Tim Slade.
Tim Slade, obviously V8 supercar driver, a very similar sequential gearbox. Big difference is a lighter car, huge amount more power and a lot more aerodynamics. Turning into turn one here, nearly flat, the smallest of lifts. That takes a huge amount of confidence in the technology and the design of these cars. Extremely late brake here, so only on a semi-slick tyre in these cars versus a full slick in the V8. So that will change the dynamic a little bit for the way Tim drives, but it looks sped up. The onboard is just fantastic to watch, and they're going quicker than a Formula 3 car would around this circuit. Tipping into turn 4 here, very bumpy. You can see Tim moving around a lot, but the car isn't moving because of that aerodynamic downforce.
That was the fastest first sector time we'd seen all weekend. Had a lot more road on the outside at turn 5 that he could use as well, so there was still a little bit more in this lap, but Tim did not want to go running too wide, making a mistake, maybe even hurting the floor of the car on that big exit curb. Look how much grip it's got in 4th gear around turn 7 down to this hairpin.
That's a very good point you make, Chad, about running wide and using more of the track. Is a lot of these really high aero cars with fancy floors or under trays on the cars, you have to be wary of protecting that, because if you damage that, you can lose grip and slow your time down.
Look how quick the inputs are into the steering wheel. Just a little bit of patience at the last corner. He was sub 1 minute to the second sector time, something I'd never seen on the timing screens here before at World Time Attack. Knew it was going to be special, had no idea just how special though. 1:22.1. Congratulations, Tim Slade, Murray Coote, everyone from up there on the Sunshine Coast. The MCA Hammerhead has produced something truly remarkable here in 2016. So the top 5 going through look like this. Brad Shields misses the cut. You almost have to rub your eyes when you see the times at the top. 2 drivers going under the lap record, Bartonmore into the 23s as well. Taniguchi looking fast, and McKinnon rounding out the 5 that'll go through to the SUPERLAP shootout.
Sladey, mate, you absolutely annihilated that lap from yesterday. Where was the time?
A bit everywhere, to be honest. I don't know what I was doing yesterday. It clearly shows I was way off the potential of the car yesterday, but a little bit of a sleep and a think about things, and sort of wind it up a little bit more as well, which is always nice to have in reserve, which isn't something that we're normally used to in the racing that we do. So, yeah, I mean, car with aero, I said after the lap yesterday that there was more in it, so I guess it's just a little bit more exploration of the aero capabilities. There's some big words for you. So yeah, it was pretty much just in those areas, and I mean the car is amazing. Like it's so stable, and there's still more left in it again. And yeah, I mean what a job Murray and all of his boys have done. It's awesome.
Looking forward to seeing what Tim Slade is capable of in the SUPERLAP shootout coming up a little bit later in the program. But right now, we're going to duck off to an ad break. There's still so much more to see here at the Yokohama World Time Attack Challenge. From up high in the Motorsport TV drone, looking down at the Sydeny.com start line, we're going to go down into those pits after the break. Welcome back to the Yokohama World Time Attack Challenge at the glorious Sydney Motorsport Park. Some lovely weather here in New South Wales. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too good to go racing during the middle of the day, so we have a different plan.
Yeah, exactly right, Chad. So whilst the weather isn't favourable in terms of temperature, we have this amazing off-track activity. You can see here the show and shine from the lowdown. Over 450 of Australia's best show cars from all over the country, as far as Perth, Northern Territory, have come here. The pit walk is something we introduced last year to the event, and it's amazing. They get to see up close and personal with the drivers and the cars through pit lane, but also we have a driver signing. So all the pro drivers there signing merchandise, signing steering wheels, posters, signing basically anything people brought along to the day. And it really is a way to them to meet their heroes. You know, that they are the heroes of the sport, and you can walk up and have a chat with them, take a selfie, and tick a box.
Under Suzuki signing some autographs, Tarzan Yamada, Tsuchiya's son. Everyone going straight past Tim Slade though, because they wanted to meet the international stars like this guy, Mad Mike Widdett, down there in the Ultimate Suite, meeting some of our VIPs, having a great time here in the sun at World Time Attack. Let's go down to the pits once again and find Carl Reimler.
Down here on pit wall with Cole Powelson, you were neighbours with Under Suzuki last year. Despite the language barrier, became very close with Under last year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the common language is motorsport, and we both spoke it. Both struggled, had engine failures. So teams worked side by side through the night, cheering each other on. clapping, celebrating when the engine's fired up in the morning. So it wasn't the ideal situation, but it was one we're in, and we got friends for life.
Excellent. And you're obviously addicted to the sport, which I can completely appreciate. You're based in Salt Lake City. You've missed the event this year as a competitor. You've somehow convinced your wife to come out for a holiday for this event. Will you be back anytime soon?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's Sydney. You know, it's one of the greatest cities in the world. So it's there's a lot of reasons to come here. First off, Sydney's a beautiful place to be, and it's a beautiful motorsport show here. So I'll be back at minimum next year.
And talking about dedication, you told me just before you left a 10-day-old child to come to this event last year.
Yeah.
Again, very understanding wife. Will you bring your daughter or son? Daughter out next year for the event, and your wife?
That's the plan. It's the wife's call. So I owe her big time. So I'm quite in debt to her. So we're going to spend the next week in Sydney and hang around the harbour and eat good food and take naps on the beach.
Well, the action was still happening out on track with the Just Car Insurance International Drift Challenge, which will be an entire separate episode from World Time Attack, but we just wanted to show the crowd what these guys are capable of, and some huge names are part of this as well.
Absolutely. Guys like Dago Saito there in the Lamborghini Murcielago drift car, like crazy builds from all over the world. This is probably one of the strongest groups of drifters ever put together anywhere in the world, and to have it here in Sydney is just fantastic for our event.
They were pushing the limits, and so too was this man. So good to have Tsuchiya-san here and going out for a drift display in a very iconic Australian drift car that's been reborn again.
Bo Yates built this car many years ago. He crashed it at this event a couple of years back, resurrected the car, and to put the guy who invented drifting in the car, Tsuchiya-san, is a testament to how good this car is, and watching him is fantastic.
Bo, you built a car that he could confidently take around the track and you know, really push it, so he had a lot of fun taking the car around.
Oh, that's great. Just on behalf of myself, my wife, everyone involved in the build of this car, the boys at Hypertune, I've been living in their factory for the last 4 months, and it's just such a privilege to have KT, the Drift King, drive it here this weekend, and I wouldn't have done it for anyone else.
It's not just about drifting with four wheels here this weekend. We've got Dave McKenna and this wild Yamaha cutting sick on the front straight and wowing the crowd at Yokohama World Time Attack 2016. Ren, this guy's mad.
He is absolutely mad. Each time he came off the track, he would come and see me and ask, where can I do more? Can I go around turn 1? Can I go around turn 2? I said, have the whole track's yours, do as you please, and boy did he put on a show.
Absolutely smoking it up. This wild turbo bike, I might mention, is just completely off tap, and everyone here at World Time Attack appreciating the show. Well, there's no doubt about it. So many people here this weekend have come solely to see this. I'm not even going to call it a car, just a piece of art. It's the PAGANI HUAYRA BC. It costs about $4.5 million Australian, and we put it in the hands of an absolute madman. And this was a real battle between man and machine, quite literally.
Yeah, I couldn't actually watch this at the time it was happening. You know, we put a lot of heart and soul to get this car flown out here, especially for this event, to put Tsuchiya-san behind the wheel. And as you said, you can see the aerodynamic flaps on the back of the car. Everything is fighting the car to try and keep it under grip. But the Drift King himself just wants to go sideways.
So this is a drift icon trying to throw a $4.5 million supercar sideways. And that supercar begging for some kind of mercy. Indicators going on, smoke pouring off it. Tsuchiya-san only knows one way.
I'm down here with Alan Heafy, and probably the most beautiful car here, the R88 Nissan that raced in the 1988 Le Mans 24-hour race. Alan, what was your involvement with this car back in the day?
Basically, this particular car, we only were a little bit of assistance manpower-wise to the Japanese crew at Le Mans. They were doing the full bit, and we sent over half a dozen guys from UK at that time to help them, and that was it. But moving on from this car, the R89 and 90, I was heavily involved with Lola cars and Japan in engine development and chassis development, all that sort of stuff, and that was a very interesting time as well. But this particular car was really just assistance with helping the Japanese do it. They needed manpower, and we helped them out with that.
Excellent. And the car itself, tell me about the engine. Obviously, that era of Group C racing was probably arguably one of the most competitive eras. Tell me about the engine, the chassis itself.
Well, the chassis itself was built in 87, then modified at the end of 87 to 88. Originally the car run with a V6 twin-turbo engine, and then it got converted at the end of '87 to the V8, which it's got now, and that was it run domestic Japanese championship, and then off to Le Mans with the V8 with the sister car to the same as for that event. The sister car was driven by our local hero Alan Grice and Wyn Percy, of course, which is well known locally, and another English gentleman as well. So they finished 14th. This car had an engine failure, which put it out, unfortunately.
And the car itself, we know it's got a lot of technology. I actually want to just wander around the other side because I want to open up the door and have a quick look inside. It was ahead of its time in a lot of different ways, but the cockpit, so to speak, it's pretty raw, isn't it, compared to modern day cars?
Analog gauging and a mechanical brake bias that your driver feels. There's no numbers to tell him what's good and what's bad. A couple of adjustable roll bars, front and rear, to try and trim the car up a little bit. But apart from that, it is a raw motor car.
And H-pattern 5-speed, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah, H-pattern 5-speed, and all geared for 250 miles an hour.
Tell you what, the drivers back then were absolute cowboys. You wouldn't see me jumping in this time anytime soon.
No, look, I mean, all hats off to Alan Grice, actually, because in that particular event, the other drivers with him were fearful of it all so much that he was the only one that they could drive it in the wet. So he did the wet stints in the car, which was a fair part of that race of that year. And no, he did an excellent job. But it certainly took some bravado to, travel down the Mulsanne at 240 odd miles an hour in the thing. And those days it was no chicanes, standard road, and had the wheel tracks that trucks put in it and all those sorts of things. So it was brave people that drove the cars.
Yeah. 900 horsepower in full qualifying trim. No traction control, no stability control, no active aero. Just literally 900 horsepower on tap underneath that right foot. Absolutely crazy.
Yep, and it was all come through the driver's feel through his backside, and he either lifted or put it down depending on what he felt was right at the time. And if he got it wrong, he got it wrong.
Turbo Smart Flying 500 is one for the absolute horsepower nuts like Dan DeSano, who finished third here this weekend, going 240 kilometres per hour. So you've got to have a standing start and then pretty much unleash hell, Ren.
Absolutely. These things are huge, well over 1,000 horsepower. A couple of cars, I think, are over 2,000 horsepower in this lineup. And you can see that the rooftop's full, turn one's full, the grandstand's full. The crowd really loves this because it's all about putting down huge amounts of power. You can see Aaron McGranahan's R35 GTR there, off to a slow start and still pulling 252 kilometres per hour.
But it's Michael Baghdadi in this unbelievable mixed motorsport Lancer. This guy knows how to go down the quarter mile fast. We're going to add another 100 metres to his journey and clock up 255 kilometres per hour. Complete insanity, and that would be enough to get Mick the top step of the podium. Warren Sayre is standing by with one of our sponsors this weekend who knows all about the engine management systems.
Haltech Engine Management, back here again, World Time Attack 2016. I'm here with Scott. Scott, tell us a little bit about what sort of products you're selling here this weekend.
So we're here with a bunch of either the drag cars, circuit cars, obviously all the drift cars. So we do the engine management systems. So we do anything that controls the engine, all the boost control, all the variable cam control, all the electronic throttle stuff, dashes, and all the data acquisition.
So people go through this exercise of what do I spend my money on next. Where would you put engine management in that? At the start or at the end of the process?
Well, obviously you've got to budget for everything when you're first building a car, and one of the things that people do forget about is the engine management. So it's the thing that's the make or break at the very end. So once you've spent all the money on your custom cylinder blocks, your pistons, rods, your camshafts, turbochargers, if you don't spend your money on the engine management and get the right one for your application, it's going to fall apart because you can't tune it properly or you don't have enough control over it.
I'm down here with Costa, the owner of the Tilton Evo, the reigning World Time Attack Challenge car from Sydney Motorsport Park last year, and Garth Walden, the driver of the car, current lap record holder in this vehicle at a 23.7, I believe, which is a phenomenal amount of speed. We've got a little bit of time up our sleeves, so I want to ask both of you a couple of questions, a bit of insight into some of the technical side of things, but also the driving side of things as well. So Costa, I'll start with you, mate. How do you do it? Tell me about the car, where you've spent the money, and how you're able to, you've won 3 back-to-back World Time Attack challenges. Tell me about it.
Well, firstly, the car's based on still a Evo chassis, a standard Evo chassis. We have a lot of off-the-shelf parts that anyone could buy. Most of the parts are 80-90% available on the market. Where we spend most of our money is the development. Recently on the last event was on the Aero, I believe, and our maintenance on the cars. We have a pretty strict maintenance program to keep everything healthy at the track, and obviously our spares register is pretty important as well. That's where most of our money's been spent. And dealing with bolt-on parts, you have to rely on their technology as well, so we do a lot of R&D for them as well. What we do as a team, we always guide the winning time. For the year, we have an educated guess where the car should be at, and we push our car to that time, which is really important. Rather than trying to have the fastest car in the field, we try to have the fastest car of the day. And that's how we've, I believe, how we've won and been in the last 3 years.
Excellent. So being the fastest car on the day, there's obviously a lot of stuff that goes in behind the scenes. Reliability is very important. You've touched on that. How much testing goes into a program leading into a big event like this?
Last year we had a pretty strict test program. We tested aero, we tested the engine. We did, I think, 10 test days. We had a real strict test program. And every time we finish a test, we strip down all the parts, engine, check everything, trying to find the weakest link and try to improve it.
And Garth, over to you, mate. You're the lucky guy that that gets to drive this car in anger. It is an absolute beast of a car. How do you? I mean, it takes a bit of courage to drive a car this fast. I mean, you've sort of in a roundabout way. You've bounced back from adversity. You had 8 tyres let go last year, I believe, and I mean, to come back from that in high-speed corners, it's a challenging thing to overcome.
Yeah, it is a challenging thing, and I think that's what makes time attack so special. Like, you got to balance safety, risk versus reward, basically. But once you start that lap, you don't get any more laps. Like, you only got one shot at it. You can't just breathe out of the throttle and have another go to the next lap. So you have to be 110% committed, and you got to put all that out of your head and just go for broke, basically, because you get 3 runs a day. That gives you 6 chances to put down a time. And you get, as I said, you get 1 lap. The tyre doesn't last any longer. Nothing lasts any longer. So you've got such a small window to get it all right. So yeah, it's just bravery, stupidity. Just chuck everything out the window and have a go, mate. Basically.
And Costa, back to you. You've retired this car. The Tilton Evo has been retired. Where to next?
Where to next? Maybe build one of the new age cars. Where it's more like 3/4 tube chassis type car. We want to build something special, something creative, something outside of the square. I was looking at some V10 high revving, really cool sounding stuff. So really lightweight, and just take it from there. So just think about it carefully before we make the move, and try to make sure the car, we can use it in multiple purposes rather than just one event.
From legendary men to legendary cars, this is the Prep Motorsport Legends as part of the Midday Mayhem, and some very famous race cars on track right now. Probably none more famous than the car that won Bathurst 25 years ago in the hands of Jim Richards and Mark Scaife, but there's a bit of a mix of cars out there as well.
Yeah, we've got some old Group A cars. If you just saw, there were some old rally cars in the RX-7, XU1 GTR Tiranas. It really is a great mix of cars. There's even a little Fiat out there flying around. Ferraris, Lamborghinis, you name it. It really is iconic cars from across road and track, across the eras, all on track, putting on a great show of sight and sound for the people who attended.
Yeah, it's all about remembering some great times in motorsport. Have a look at the Lamborghini out there on track as well. As always, there's plenty of Japanese flavour, as you'd expect here at the Yokohama World Time Attack Challenge. And this is just a great way to welcome in some more sights and sounds before the official on-track duties get back together. That thing was an absolute icon in its time.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. Me myself, I had a poster of that car on my wall when I was a kid, and some of these people only take these cars out once a year, and for them to bring them to World Time Attack Challenge and put on this show, we are really fortunate to have those kind of people around.
Okay, not far away from getting into the SUPERLAP shootout. The guys are ready, helmets going on, and we're going to check that out on the other side of this. building to the biggest moment of the weekend here at the Yokohama World Time Attack Challenge at Sydney Motorsport Park. Destination New South Wales helping to provide a massive event, and this is what it's all about, the SUPERLAP shootout. All 4 classes, we send the top 5 guys out one at a time, starting with our V-Sport Club Sprint class. And there's over 30,000 people here that have been waiting for this moment.
Yeah, it's a huge event this year, Chad. It's great to see it growing, and as you said, with support from Destination New South Wales, Sydney.com, it really is great to put on such a fantastic event in our backyard as well.
So the little Burton S2000 Honda, the first car through, red boxes showing us that he's probably not going to get below the 1:39.2 of Dan Meredith. 2.5 seconds off the pace, but doing a good job here this weekend. Worth mentioning, you can do a lap time that can win the weekend at any moment, but this is the time when you'll probably get the best track conditions to try and achieve it.
And a man who knows all about getting the best out of his car in this shootout, Jason Naidoo, expected big things from him this weekend. Unfortunately, a vacuum line, I think, has come off the car because he's lost boost and he's lost brakes. And that's a real shame because I really expected Jason to be fighting at the front.
Yeah, what a thing to happen in the shootout after all that preparation. Plenty more preparation going on back down there in the pits as the Scorch Racing guys get ready to send Under Suzuki out onto the track, filing down his own tyres. He was doing that overnight as well. Next car up, it's the Dalrymple Skyline.
Great looking car, very, very quick car. You can see he's down in the first 2 sectors on Meredith, so he won't be quickest, but he might top his own time, so let's just wait and see.
Trying to sneak under the 140s, not quite going to happen. 141.6. Racetrack's still pretty hot and greasy at the moment. We need that sun to set over the Blue Mountains to try and cool this racetrack off. How about Nader? Another one of these fast little Hondas.
Yeah, the BYP Racing guys build really, really strong Honda cars, race cars, drag engines. They're really, really good guys, and this thing should be a rocket in a straight line, but again, I don't think he's got the pace to tag Meredith's time.
Been up inside the top 5 quite comfortably, but it wasn't going to happen, and that means that back-to-back years for this man are locked away. Dan Meredith wins once again in the Newlawn entry, this wild little Honda Civic. And that means that this is something of a victory lap for him now. He's got no pressure on his shoulders. He can just see if he can get under his earlier 1:39.
Yeah, it's a fantastic little car. Front-wheel drive to get these sort of lap times is incredible. You can see the small rear wing on the back just helping pin it down there through turn 1. Probably 185, 190 k's an hour through there on effectively a road tyre, an R-Spec road tyre. Really light in the back, and you can see that inside left wheel getting clear off the deck there. Heaps of front grip in this car, and it's Daniel's doing a fantastic job pedaling it as well.
Local Sydney side up. That was about as far as he could push it down there at turn 2. Very late on the brakes. Down we go now. Turn 4. Needs to be clean through here. Early sector time. It's slower than his own best so far.
You can actually see with these Club Sprint cars as well a lot less aerodynamics. Whilst they do have this car in particular has a big rear wing off the back, it's a lot smaller and less effective than our Open and Pro class cars. So you really have to move the car around a lot more to get weight over the tyres where you need the grip. So Daniel again doing a great job. You can see it locking rear tyres, coming into corners under brakes, transferring all that weight forward, but he's doing a really good job of driving this car quickly.
Tough downhill approach to turn 9. Gets it turned in quite cleanly. Said he was going to celebrate with a famous Aussie shoey this weekend if we could get up onto the top step, but at the moment not looking like it's going to be an improvement on his earlier lap time.
And that's something with this SUPERLAP shootout. Yes, it does give them a chance to do one more, shot at that one perfect lap, but you could have also set a lap this morning or yesterday morning in terms of getting the ultimate time out of your car. So really, as you say, this is a chance for Daniel to just enjoy the car and enjoy the last lap.
He'll go back-to-back World Time Attack. Congratulations, Dan Meredith winning once again in the V-Sport Club Sprint class, doing an unbelievable job here this weekend. Naidoo rounds out the 5. Ben Arnold's time earlier in the Nissan Skyline's good enough for 3rd, but it's Meredith going sub 1:40 in back-to-back years. Congratulations. Time now to turn our attention to the Open class. It's been hotly contested all weekend long. Link Engine Management on board. And the top 5 guys out on track. And it's the Kiwi team up first. Probably didn't get to keep a set of tyres up their sleeve like they would have been hoping for. Andy Duffin, 1:29.4 the time to beat. Sector times not showing us that it's going to be an improvement.
Absolutely love this car. Andy's a great guy as well. I had a pleasure of sort of meeting him over the last couple of days. Great team, great car, and it's a shame he didn't go quicker, but awesome that they make the effort to come all the way over from New Zealand to be part of this fantastic event.
Insight Motorsport putting Steve Glennie in the show once again, this fast Tasmanian rounding the last corner. It's all about trying to get down into the 129s, very close into the low 30s, but it's not fast enough to see Glennie go towards the top. South Aussie's Matt Longhurst on top at the moment. Nick Ashwin, the third car on track.
See this Evo really, really quick off the corners, all-wheel drive. Some people choosing for the all-wheel drive platform or four-wheel drive platform. Some going for front-wheel drive, some going for rear-wheel drive. And obviously Ashwin there hasn't betted his own time, but still very, very quick to get into the 1 minute 30s around Sydney Motorsport Park.
But this is a man that we believe might be able to do it. Here comes Nathan Morecambe. We're right on board with him right now. This car, campaigned by Nick Kalis for quite a few years. He's the reigning Bathurst 6-hour champion. Can he get the job done? Races for the Techno Autosport McLaren team in the Australian GT Championship. Now he went 131.0 on old tyres in practice with a broken front wing. He can definitely get down into the 29s.
Absolutely. I've actually had a bit of experience with this car with Nick in the past, designing and building and also testing this car on a couple of occasions. And this car definitely has it in it, and I'm sure Nathan, of all people, you could plug in a pro driver like him, will get an incredibly quick time. Fastest first sector here, so we're on a flyer. If he can, he might pip this 29.4 of Longhurst.
That's the first green box we've seen. All the way to the exit of 5. That's a huge moment. He bounces himself over the curb, but it's still quick. That's the important thing. Another couple of corners to go before we get that second sector time, and maybe an indication if we're going to see a new driver go to the top.
He's got that 10th or just over a 10th up his sleeve. That little moment at turn 5 hopefully won't affect his overall time, but we'll see how sector 2 goes for him now as he exits just out of turn 8 here. Another green light. We're 3 tenths up now. We're on an absolute flyer here from Nathan.
He's up 3 tenths. Former Formula 3 racer, so knows how to hustle an aero car around the track. It hoiks that left rear up in the last corner. He's got a couple tenths up his sleeve to burn, but we know the skyline is quick in a straight line. How will the Lancer go? Can he get there? Can he get under the 29.4? Yes! And he knows it too. He screams with joy.
Fantastic effort for Nathan, obviously driving, but for Nick and all the people over the years that have been a part of improving that car and developing it to the level it's at now. Fantastic result for them, and just, again, that one perfect lap is what it came down to. Great effort by Nathan.
He is absolutely stoked, but he hasn't got his hands on the trophy yet because Matt Longhurst, the fast South Aussie, has a right of reply. Hasn't done too many laps here this weekend, has been keeping it up his sleeve, making sure he's got plenty of tyres to throw at this, the SUPERLAP. Can he get that number 1 spot back?
Incredibly quick. You can see it skipping around through turn 1. A huge amount of aero on this car. Obviously, it's a bigger, heavier base car than the Evo.
That's deep. It's too deep. He's off.
That will most certainly cost his time. You can see the hand in the cabin there. I think he knows he's lost his chance at getting that time. And unfortunate small lock of the rear tyre there under brakes. But, great to see Matt still pressing on.
What a shame. Carried more speed through turn 1 than he's done all weekend long. And I think that might have been his undoing, because if you brake at the same point going faster, you're just not going to pull it up. And there you go, he's over 1.5 seconds off Nathan Morecambe's time to the first sector. Oscar Fiorinotto and the team at Super Shock have been doing a lot of work with this car, getting it ready for the weekend. Bit of a haze of smoke coming out of it now as well.
Potentially there might have been something, vapor or fluid dropping on that tyre which has caused it to lock easier. I'm not too sure, but it is a real shame because that was going to be a fantastic battle for that last lap here of Matt.
He was committed through the first corner. He's lost another 7 tenths anyway through the mid part, so it's not all that first sector that's been his undoing here. So it bounces its way through the last corner. Very stiffly sprung car, the Nissan Skyline. He'll be devastated. He'll be really dark on himself, but he's done a huge job here this weekend. The only other driver to go sub 130 in the open class. Only 2 drivers have ever achieved it, he and Nathan Morecambe, but it's runner-up for season 2016. But he can hold his head high because he has put in a huge effort here this weekend. It's Morecambe who gets the win in our Link Engine Management Open class, hotly contested all weekend long. Congratulations to he and Matt Longhurst. The South Aussie was fast, but couldn't quite get the job done in 2016. Okay, we're into the Pro cars, and we're going to start it with Turbo by Garrett Pro Am. The biggest and only difference really to worry about here is that you're not allowed to be a pro driver, but you're allowed to throw whatever modifications and aero you like at the car. This is an ex-Super GT car out of Japan. Originally went via Norway to Australia this year. Dale Malone, a Sydney-sider, bringing this car in to do some laps, and looks like he's going to set his personal best lap of the weekend right at the end.
Yeah, it's a beautiful car, and Dale's done a fantastic job of making that car comply with our regulations for the event as well, so hats off to the team and a great time to finish off the weekend.
Oi, Brad Trenwith with a huge moment on the last corner, getting on that throttle just a little bit early there. It's a shame it was a fast middle sector for the South Aussie, and it looks like he won't be getting down to that 127.4. Running on a medium compound tyre here as well, so just happy to get lots of laps, but that 20B rotor being a little bit troublesome at the moment. Still trying to get the most out of it. Chris Alexander from up on the Gold Coast comes down to race. Addition of paddle shifts for this year for this Skyline. You can see him just flicking through the gears.
And back in the day when SUPERLAP or Time Attack first started here in Australia, the R32 GTR was the car to have. It was Mark Berry and Russell Newman were campaigning that car and were just the quickest thing around. They actually went over to Tsukuba and ran the car there.
The last man that could take the title away from Mick Sigsworth on track, the fastest front-wheel drive car. And this is a huge lap from Rob Newen. Oh, the 26-year-old from Queensland gets very, very close to Sigsworth's lap. It's a huge personal best for the team. It'll lock them into second for the weekend. And that means that this man has done something that no other team has been able to do before, winning 4 World Time Attack crowns.
Yeah, an amazing effort by Mick Sigsworth and the team up there in Queensland. There's a huge number of people behind the design process for this car, and just a fantastic thing, and you can see how quick it is through turn 1.
Maximum commitment through there, sparks pouring off the end plates, trying out a few different wings here this weekend as well to find the right combo, but hasn't been overly comfortable in this car yet. We go on board, it's a work of art up close. This thing is just completely mental.
There's a chap by the name of Barry Locke who's actually been behind designing a lot of this car. He was an aerodynamicist for McLaren back in Formula 1. So what started life as a Mitsubishi Evo 9, which you can go and buy on car sales now and drive tomorrow. But this car has been heavily developed and heavily engineered with some of the best minds in the world, and you can see the thing is super quick, and Mick's doing a fantastic job of driving it to the limit.
So much grip, and he's under his own best time for the weekend, so this is now just a chance for him to try and get one out of the bag. He did go into the 25s last year, very nearly won the entire event. He was that close, but this year, it just hasn't quite been as comfortable and as fast. So far, so good on this last lap, although he's lost a bit through the middle. Turn 5, he understeered terribly off the track down there. More sparks off this amazing front wing, but the PMQ design car, well, it's a 4-time champ. Nothing will ever be able to take that away from Mick Sigsworth. What a superstar.
Yeah, fantastic effort again by Mick and the team, travelling down from Queensland to be a part of this event. And as you said, last year they nearly won the thing outright. It's a shame he didn't go better in his final shootout there, but still to come away with a win, great effort to him and the team.
Nice work, Mick Sigsworth. Plenty of test days in this car. Consistency is key, and that's been the reason why he's been able to get to the top once again. But that is the closest it's been in a while in Pro-Am. Rob Newen really pushed him all the way, just a few tenths in it. Maybe it could have been a win for those guys this year. So the signs are looking good for our Royal Purple Pro class. The conditions getting better as the day grows older, and that means that the track is getting cooler and faster. We've seen personal bests and improvements in the other 3 classes. Hopefully we'll see some here, and already the signs look good for Paul McKinnon.
That's right, Chad. And this is the last chance for somebody. We've had the Tilton Evo reigning 3-time champion here. This is somebody new will be crowned out of this session. So everybody's going to be pushing as hard as they can to knock down that time of Tim Slater, that 22.1. Phenomenal lap that he did this morning.
It was a great lap from McKinnon, his best of the weekend. Nob Taniguchi, personal best first sector, lost some time in the middle. We're right on board with him in the Sutton Brothers Sylvia.
You can see the mix of some of the cars as well. Obviously, this still has a sequential gearbox on the lever.
Still a good lap in the 128s. They just wanted to get into the 129s. He did even better. But there are 3 drivers to watch out for, and one of them's on track right now. It's Barton Moore in the PR Tech Porsche.
You can see Bart there just relaxing the hands, getting himself ready for what's going to be a huge lap. turn one, where you can see the thing skipping around. That's totally relying on the aerodynamic grip there, what they call the packers. You're not using your shock absorber springs or dampers at that point. You're just running on hard pack rubber to stop the thing from grounding out. But that's incredibly quick, well over 200 k's an hour through turn one.
Big time commitment through 1 and 2. Has run wide down there a couple of times, so did a good job to pull that thing up, given how fast it was going. First sector time looming. Do we get a green box here for the Porsche? Personal best, but 7/10 off that first time through for Slade. That was set in the nice cool conditions of the morning.
Something you mentioned there, Chad, about shooting long at turn 2 and pulling the thing up. Something that this car is running that not many other cars in the entire event are running, but certainly the only car in Pro Class is Motorsport tuned ABS and traction control, which really helps you get the best out of the car at all times. And I think they might have been having a bit of a play with that earlier on when they were running long. The other thing that some teams are exploring in the future is the hybrid technology as well. So this really is at the cutting edge of technology, the Pro Class Time Attack cars.
7/10 off at the moment. It was a quick second sector. In the hands of David Wall, this car went 126.8 in its inaugural year. Had some aerodynamics issues, and boy have they improved. They've found nearly 3 seconds since then. Bartonmore, can he get under the 122.1? It's going to be a big ask. He needs a huge last sector. 23.0. Huge lap. And now we've had 3 cars go quicker than Garth Walden's record set here last year. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, mega lap there from Bart. Had that car absolutely singing. The guys from PR Technology have done an amazing job to further develop this car. And I know Bart has been a big influence in that in testing over the recent times. So well done to Bart and the team.
Now it's time for Under Suzuki. Trying to get the power down in the Nissan off the last corner. Gets a little bit sideways, but it's not going to cost him too much time because his time starts now over the Sydney.com start line through turn 1.
Under still uses the traditional sequential lever, the big lever to his left-hand side. They're pulling back for up gears, pushing forward for down gears. He's a real gentleman of a driver. And look, he just does a fantastic job building this car, developing this car himself back in Japan. And he's one of the heroes of this sport. The grandstands just cheer for him every time he goes past.
Took over 2 seconds off his personal best set here 2 years ago. Looking very good here, but 9/10 of a second away from Tim Slade.
Bit of a slide there through turn 4. That's going to cost his time. It's pushed him wide into turn 5 on the entry, which has obviously affected his exit as well. So I think this second sector may not be his strongest, but he's still pushing very hard. And it's never, Under Suzuki will never ever give up on this flying SUPERLAP shootout.
Having some Aussie-built billet blocks. That was the key this year after suffering engine failure in 2015. All the way to the exit at 9.
Yeah, that run at turn 4, then 5, and then through turn 7 and 8 has definitely cost his middle sector, but doesn't matter. He still pushes the entire way through. He buffs the tyres himself. He builds the car himself. He unloaded the car out of the container himself. And I tell you what, Under Suzuki has put on a massive show here this weekend. Well done.
He's a cult hero. He put everything on the line in the SUPERLAP shootout. He probably won't improve because of it, no. Still a 24.6. That would have been good enough to win 2 years ago.
That's an incredible lap when you consider it to say if he had supercars or GT times, it's 3, 4, 5 seconds faster than them on a semi-slick tyre. It's just incredible the pace, and as we said, that's with some mistakes as well. So incredible pace, and yeah, well done.
And then there was one. We know now that this man cannot be beaten. But Tim Slade grabbing gears. The 123.7 of Garth Walden has been smashed this year with 3 drivers under the record. Smoke pouring off the front end as the aero grinds away on that Yokohama tyre. But he still holds it to the board through turn 1.
That is an incredible visual to see that. Obviously, a lot of these teams wind in an extra bit of wing into the front end of the car to try and get it more pointy for that SUPERLAP shootout. And you can see there just bottoming out through the front tyres. Over 300 k's an hour that was happening in the front straight. I've not seen that sort of thing since the 80s in Formula 1.
Tim Slade driving this car like he's in fast forward, but he's 2/10 down to that first sector. Does he take a bit more exit room here than he did earlier today? A little bit. He might find some more time there.
You actually look at the Motec dash there in front of him as well. There's a high temperature warning that's just come up in the middle of the lap as well. So whether or not he'll actually have time to see that because he's so busy behind the wheel, he may back out, but he may also keep pressing on.
It's not the time now to be backing off. The last lap for season 2016 here. World Time Attack Challenge has been incredible. Tim Slade, Murray Coote, they've already got it won. Now it's about trying to go quicker than their 122.1. He needs a huge last sector. Takes a bit of that entry curb on the penultimate corner. The Hammerhead is going to win, but what will be the final number? Can he get into the 121s?
Incredibly quick down the straight. Despite of that aero, when you get over 1,000 horsepower pushing it through the air, it's super quick. A little bit slower on that lap, but incredibly quick time. And yeah, well done to Tim Slade and the whole MCA team, Murray Coots and all the boys. Fantastic effort, and the new World Time Attack Challenge champions.
After having Earl Bamber in the car, Shane Van Gisbergen as well, it's Tim Slade who gets the job done for Murray Coote and the whole team at MCA. The Hammerhead is the champion for 2016. Congratulations though to Under Suzuki and also Barton Moore. Up on the podium, Dan Meredith getting the win in V Sport Club Sprint. Back-to-back years, the podium celebrations. Absolutely huge here at World Time Attack and delivering on his promise, I might mention. Good luck trying to explain that to some of our Japanese visitors here this week, and they have absolutely no idea what that's about. In Open, how about Nathan Morecambe? What a superstar.
Fantastic. No stranger to a podium either. He's been up there plenty, but yeah, he did everything he needed at that right time to bank that lap, and that's what it's all about, that one perfect lap, driver and car together, you know, getting the ultimate basically for that 3.9 kilometres.
All four-time Mick Sigsworth getting the job done in our Pro-Am, but gee, Rob Ewan pushed him this year. Could so easily have won it for the front-wheel drive crew. And it's the MCA Hammerhead that is victorious. We thought those would be the three drivers that would be fighting it out, but it's Tim Slade on top and Murray Coote joining him up there to raise the trophy. The one perfect lap inaugural trophy goes to Murray Coote and the MCA Hammerhead. What a huge year it's been. Time to get some champagne going.
Yeah, and it's great to see, you know, those guys have put so much effort over the years. You mentioned Earl Bamber, Shane Van Gisbergen, now Tim Slade, putting pro drivers in that car, constantly evolving it and coming away with just a mega lap, a 122.1. Wow.
Well, that was just unbelievable. 2016 lived up to the hype, and if you want to be a part of 2017, then go to Sydney.com and check out everything Destination New South Wales, because this is one event you do not want to miss. 2016 Yokohama World Time Attack Sydney has been absolutely massive. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.